What's going on, guys? Welcome to Everything Always. My name is Michael Roman, aka Allfires. Now, ever since they announced Avengers Secret Wars as the end of the Multiverse Saga, we've pretty much known that there was a reboot in the works. We simply didn't know what it would look like. And even when Kevin Feige confirmed this earlier this year at their Burbank HQ meeting, saying that there would be resetting of singular timelines and an eventual recast for everyone, including Tony Stark and Steve Rogers, he then also immediately went on to say that actors like Chris Hemsworth are in their prime and could play characters like Thor for another 10 years. Well, today we've got a trusted industry insider source adding a lot more clarity to what Marvel's reboot is going to look like post-Secret Wars as we enter Phase 7, and if this report is true, it's not as invasive as we thought, and in fact is actually going to go a long way in erasing some moments that fans absolutely hated. We're breaking down this latest industry insider report about the Marvel reboot to come, but first, if you could grab the subscribe button. Thanks to everyone who's been subbing lately and helped grow the channel. You guys are awesome. We're growing again at an insane rate. And if you haven't already, I would just kindly invite you to do so. Whether you've been rocking with the channel for a while or this is your first time finding us, subbing is the best way to support us. Plus, it'll automatically enter you for the giveaways. All you got to do, be a sub, leave a comment. If you want, stick around to the end of the video. We get into all the giveaway stuff again there. Okay, so this latest update actually comes from industry insider and writer over at the Cosmic Circus, Alex Perez. He, alongside editor-in-chief Lizzie Hill, have been responsible for a ton of accurate Marvel scoops over the last 4 or 5 years. Take that as you will, but this is what he's indicating is going to happen during this MCU reset, and again, after Avengers Secret Wars going into Phase 7. He says it'll be a, quote, quick scrub of details the MCU wants to sort of forget and redo. He then clarifies that there's 3 core pillars of how this reset's going to work. The first one is that they're going to resurrect some of the heroes and villains as well that died during the Infinity Saga and parts of the Multiverse Saga, and because we've had a limited number of extremely important deaths and a lot of deaths that maybe won't matter in the sense of a rewrite, I think it's pretty easy to signal in on which characters may be coming back. We'll talk about that in just a second. Then he clarifies that one of the main purposes of this is to erase some minor events that bother fans and Kevin Feige, and that thirdly, they're looking to keep 75 to 85% of the original timeline that we've experienced through the MCU as the mainline continuity going forward when we're reset into what, again, Kevin Feige called singular timelines. Now, going through each one of these and circling back to the first about resurrecting heroes and villains that have already died in the MCU, I know there will be this immediate clamoring for obviously Steve Rogers and Tony Stark and even Black Widow, but we know from a couple of reports say specifically about what's going on with Yelena Belova's character in the future of the MCU, that most likely we will not be seeing Scarlet Johansson back as Black Widow after the Multiverse Saga has concluded. So if you're getting that type of impression from this update, don't. That's not what they're saying. But conversely, when you try to narrow down what deaths from previous stories would be worth reversing, there are some characters that would have a healthy future in the MCU because of the stories that they can now tell that are gone. And I think 2 names that come to the forefront is Josh Brolin's Thanos and obviously Elizabeth Olsen's Scarlet Witch. Now, with the entrance of the Mutants, interest in a House of M storyline, there are so many movies and projects she could be a part of that would not in any way sort of conflict with any of the characters that would have taken her place. In the case of Yelena Belova, she's most certainly our Black Widow going forward, and because of the history that Scarlett Johansson has with Marvel Studios directing a mystery project at Disney Plus or not, considering how much things have changed, she's not coming back as Black Widow. That's pretty emphatic on her part. We can almost rest assured that won't be happening. But erasing Elizabeth Olsen dying at the end of Multiverse of Madness is one death that I could see Marvel Studios wanting to undo with the events that are coming up in Doomsday and Secret Wars. Josh Brolin's Thanos is the exact same way, and that's why in a video we just did regarding Deadpool 4, where it said that Ryan Reynolds is going to have a team that includes Wolverine, Storm, and Cable, I'm guessing that's going to be a recast, and only because they might need Josh Brolin as Thanos going forward. And yes, I know one is mocap CGI, one is the guy. They don't look the same, but man, they sound the same. Josh Brolin's voice is identifiable the moment he speaks, and in a world where Pedro Pascal gets every single role in Hollywood, can we please just get a recast for a new actor? We don't need him playing 2 roles in the MCU, but for stories like, say, Annihilation Wave, which may be coming up in the not too distant future of the MCU with the introduction of Annihilus, I would think maybe there's a place for Thanos in the future, and undoing the fact that he's gone now would make sense to me as well. Now, the next part of this about erasing events that were frustrating to fans and or Kevin Feige, really it's projects as a whole that have been frustrating to the fans and Kevin Feige. In my opinion, if we ran a poll for, say, the top 3 or 5 TV shows, movies, events, or characters that the fans would want to see replaced or erased after the Multiverse Saga concludes with this reboot, we wouldn't be able to reach a consensus. Okay, maybe we would, because there are some extremely embarrassing projects like Secret Invasion that should have never been made. But the way he puts this scoop and the way we've sort of heard of it, it sounds like to me that there are some very specific details that piss Kevin Feige off that he doesn't like for the continuity. And you can guarantee, regardless of what the sort of fanfare has said online about shows like She-Hulk, etc., he's going to focus on the events he doesn't like and make sure that those are all swept under the carpet going forward into Phase 7 and not a part of the continuity anymore. And where this leaves all of the Kang involvement in the Multiverse Saga, I'm not so sure. I've been pretty emphatic that they don't want to open that can of worms at all if they don't have to, and we may never even hear or see of any of that ever again. I don't think that's sort of a thing they're going to address, but it's other small things, again, like the death of Wanda Maximoff that, well, may have been just a little premature, especially when you're getting into all of these mutant storylines starting up in just 2 or 3 years. Plus, she will have had a break by then, a pretty substantial one between Mom and the beginning of Phase 7 if she's not in the next 2 Avengers films, so the way she feels about being a part of it may all change, plus there's a lot of zeros on the check that she'll be getting, so that also may have something to do with it. Now, the whole picture that this paints is not a very invasive reboot. It does not sound like there are going to be extensive recasts or sort of a whole new molding of characters or resetting of the storyline. 75 to 80% of the exact same continuity with small changes that are altering the outcomes of events that lead to characters still being alive is not sort of the reboot that we all envisioned for the end of Avengers Secret Wars, where a lot of characters have this major off-ramp and we're getting recasts for major characters in the MCU like Hulk, Thor, Doctor Strange, Wanda Maximoff. And that's not what's happening. What's happening here is that they're going to tool around with little things to change them. And honestly, that was to be expected, right? I mean, how are you going to have a multiverse saga where Doctor Doom is presumably going to sit at the center of a new battle world in lieu of there not being a multiverse anymore because he will have defeated Loki, and then say things went back to the way that they were and everything was exactly the same when it finishes? I think there was always going to be some repercussions. There was always going to be ripples, so to speak, with how the storylines would play out. And it sounds like Marvel Studios has this loose plan, maybe a couple of things Kevin Feige has at the top of his list he wants to make sure they address, but it won't be ripping up the MCU from root and stem and a complete recast for the original Avengers. And I know there was a lot of sort of cautious trepidation when Kevin Feige said, yes, eventually we will have to recast Tony Stark and Steve Rogers, have a new Iron Man and Captain America in the MCU. But it doesn't sound like that's something that's happening, say, in the next saga. That may be something for way further down the road, and as he put it, they already have plans that take them through 2032, and then obviously we'll be working on plans that take them further than that in the future, with no plans to leave Marvel Studios. And at this point, with all the rumors that he may go to Star Trek or Star Wars, I think the other one was he might go to DC for a while, but Star Wars has definitely been in the forefront of the conversation. Leave Marvel, go to Star Wars. That is the silliest thing that I have ever read, ever. Why would you leave Marvel Studios to go take over Star Wars? When and if Kevin Feige ever decides to leave Marvel Studios, he may look to do one thing and one thing only, and that's take the chair of Bob Iger. Yes, a #1 producer in history at Marvel Studios is not a CEO of Disney. Those are two different things. But when you've been in the position Kevin Feige has been in, for as long as he's been in it, there are very few opportunities that would be interesting to him in a way that would offer him something new. And he's certainly not leaving the Marvel Cinematic Universe with all his success there to try to inherit Star Wars under the same Disney banner. That's absolutely ludicrous to me. There may come a time when Kevin Feige does not want to do this anymore, but I don't think that time is going to come, and it's going to be because he wants to go do it somewhere else for a movie franchise that hasn't had as much success and under the exact same corporate banner. You guys, however, let me know all your thoughts down below about this report about the MCU reboot. Does it make you feel better or worse compared to how invasive we thought the reboot would be and how wide-sweeping the changes we all sort of anticipated would come? Basically sounds like it might be very similar to the same MCU when we come out of Avengers Secret Wars. Let me know down in the comments quickly. Still giving away PS5s. The next one is for Wonder Man. All you got to do, be a sub, leave a comment, and because it's truly random, the more videos you comment on, the better chance you have of winning. All winners will be announced at the end of videos, the same way we're doing here live with my voice in the winning comments shown on screen. So please be safe and vigilant across YouTube, and if you should ever get some spam comments, report them directly to YouTube. The best way to keep up with the content has always been to hit the notification bell with all notifications turned on, and as always, if you liked today's video, I'd appreciate it if you did the like button. My name's Michael Roman. You can find me on Instagram and Twitter at I'mFires. You can also find me on all platforms with original music under the name Allfires, including the song you're hearing in the background. And while I would sincerely appreciate you checking my music out, thanks to everyone who already has. Also, thanks for checking this channel out. Stick around. We'll be posting again real soon.